With the much anticipated revised core rulebooks just around the corner, there's a particular image floating around Twitter right now which has caused a bit of discussion to take place. It's this image of two dwarves who seem to be in a relationship, with each other's beards tattooed onto each other's arms, who are currently serving bread. Now, the whole homo dwarf thing set off an entire mob of people, and in turn set off the counterpart of that mob as well. The image itself is not what I'd like to discuss, however. It's more about tackling the essence of the game and the issues within 1D&D that I'm seeing, the certain aspects which the changes stand for. Now, just to be extra clear, what this video is not is a tirade against change. It's not a rejection of new concepts, and it's not gatekeeping a franchise against a new audience. What this video is a cautionary of where the franchise is going. The art of 1D&D is not the subject of this rant either. For the most part, the art is pretty smart and relatively tight. This is more of a rant about specific changes that the Wizards of the Coast are doing. Additionally, the contents of this video should be directed towards established D&D canon, the Sword Coast, Faerun, and the Forgotten Realms as a whole. That canon. If you create your own versions of these worlds, homebrews and such, go batshit crazy. It's your table, your world, your creativity. Do whatever the hell you want. When Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson created D&D in the 1970s, they created D&D to be something which dwelt in the spirit of adventure, to satisfy that innate desire which is within every human. As editions came and went from the very first, Advanced, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 3.5th edition, not you, 4th edition, and finally 5th edition, they all kept intact at least the visually provocative idea of, whoa, look at him, or her, or it, and they're so cool and rad and gnarly looking. The main attraction of the franchise being the concept of an entirely fantastical world separate from our own. World of unknowns, backwards and forwards peoples, slimes and evil races who are irredeemably evil and must therefore be faced by the morally righteous lest they defeat the light forever. With the advent of Stranger Things and Critical Role, however, D&D went through a massive surge in popularity which was only bolstered by the is that word still censored on YouTube? Okay, let's play it safe. It was bolstered by the 2020 crisis event, which forced everyone to stay indoors and find a release in some other medium. Hobbies and franchises are defined by the people who play them. Ultimately, as time passes, those people change and their interests reflect that. Therefore, it is logical that franchises, hobbies, and TTRPGs like D&D reflect their player base in order to maximize the entertainment value of these products. Because at the end of the day, as Hasbro was so eager to remind us with the OGL nonsense and the Wizard of the Coast layoffs, D&D is a product to make them money, and a lot of it. And in order to do that, D&D for them needs to reflect and accept as many people as physically possible. Before we do continue, while this is a noble sentiment and I believe hobbies should be open for everyone to enjoy, the hard fact is that there is a balance to strike between maintaining the original vision for these worlds and diluting them for the general public. And ultimately, this decision to open it up is not for the moral righteousness of it, it's to make them as much dough as possible. And in order for them to make that dough, they need to soften the content, water it down to make it more digestible for the masses. Away goes a very real feeling of danger and grit that some of the originals try so hard to paint for you, preparing you for what type of game lies within, and here comes instead Californian barista dwarves and cowboy orcs who do not look evil at all. What the fuck is going on here? I mean, I get nice chilled out art for characters during their downtime, but like, I mean, it's a nice change of pace, but the very attitude of this new form of Dungeons & Dragons, not even strictly from a visual perspective, but from, let's say, a general attitude towards, for example, as mentioned above, we have this entirely new representation of orcs, which portrays them as literally humans, but in slightly bigger frames. Before pressing on, I would like to point out that the removal of half races like half orcs, considering we were just talking about orcs, are, in my opinion, lazy but fair. It allows more character customization rather than having to, say, map out the potential racial benefits of every single hybrid race in D&D. I'm not going to begin to address the whole bullshit game journalist argument about races like the drows and being racially motivated. Oh, who am I kidding? Yeah, I definitely am. The argument that orcs and other such races in D&D are racially motivated is flimsy, as every article I've read on the matter in order to understand this approach is bare bones and short. There was a game designer of sorts that I saw recently who was a proponent of this argument, and after asserting his point, he refused to engage. waved off any who tried to understand where he was coming from or ignored them. His final words on the matter were simply that he was on the forefront of the matter when it mattered. The issue is done and dusted, and he was there since the beginning, supposedly, and so any engagement now is useless. Surely, educating all of us who remain curious and want to understand should be given time, but alas, the straw man employing was too self-absorbed in his own imaginary battle, which he had already won, to spare us the time of day. And the reason behind this is that there is no battle, no reason, no rhyme, no argument. It seems the implication of there being quote-unquote canonical, irredeemable creatures of evil who are not even humanoid, mind you, and never were, but are monsters, a particular demographic. Again, if you would like to make changes within your own world, go ham. But canonically, these are the way things are supposed to be. The only semblance of a real argument I've detected amongst the useless war of words is the echoing of Tolkien's work and its effects on the development of Dungeons & Dragons. Indeed, its impact is undeniable upon the very foundation of D&D. But, and this is news to me, Tolkien's work were apparently incredibly racist. Damn. Guess he was waffling about hating the apartheid, and after emerging from World War I's horrors and witnessing South African apartheid, it seems his opposition to the Nazi regime was entirely fabricated, because he was also just a racist Alright, yeah, no, enough of that bit. Delusional takes based off fabricated stories and a misunderstanding of Tolkien's tapestry. Whatever foolish notion that orcs were derived off of racially motivated boundaries can be silenced by A. Legit, the whole story is based upon the idea of unity and good overcoming hatred and division, and B. That orcs were the only exception of the rule because they were not good or even people. They were fucking monsters derived off of people who were good and twisted by Morgoth so that all good were forcefully stripped out of them, leaving nothing but vile creatures of hatred. Moving swiftly back to D&D, we can see the similarity in that orcs were created by, not Morgoth, but Grumpsh, the one-eyed god. Grumpsh? Whatever. He reveled in warfare and barbaric destruction. To this end, he created the orcs, not as people but as disposable foot soldiers, creatures of destruction who existed for conflict. Now, is it a cool idea to have unique orcs who rebel against their nature, creating interesting player characters? Abso-fucking-lutely, that shit is badass. But these are the exceptions to this world. I've said this before in a previous video, but let me echo it again here.
Quick side note, I'm getting real tired of slapping positive connotations on evil, like inherently deeply malicious titles and entities.
Again, vampires are nasty pieces of work and werewolves want to rip you to shreds, and no, to all you VTubers out there, they don't want to have sex with you. I find this distinction to be crucial in D&D. Eroding the differences between the species in the upcoming 1D&D sucks away part of the fun of it. No longer are you playing a mystical elf, ancient beyond your years, or the hearty dwarf with a love of gold, wine, and only a minor distaste towards the elves. By the way, helping give your DM ways of making different cultures interact as they would in this independently functioning fantasy world. Now you're just an elf in name, but a blonde human who doesn't need sleep, or a short, thick human, or in our context, with the orcs, just a really fucking ugly human who's stronger than usual. This, however, seems to be the direction that 1D&D is moving towards. Touching back on the point of making money, it seems more and more people prefer to be coddled into these hobbies, and in order to do this, it must be as inoffensive as possible. Nothing to challenge, nowhere to go. You're perfect as you are, you do you, chief. You're perfect in this world of perfections where everything is exactly how you ever wanted it to be, so you might as well just self-insert into the game, because what we're looking at isn't Faerun anymore. We're looking at our world, with the same people, the same cultures, same traditions, just flavored slightly as to not tackle any of the issues of our world, just to keep you familiar enough to drag you in and keep you perpetually in a state of wonder without actually venturing into anything new. Political parallels drawn within our world can be effective when used by a dungeon master to accentuate and hook players in, to ground the world of high magic and epic fantasy with very real stakes, but they need to be used wisely enough to keep that world intact rather than risking it becoming a caricature of our own reality. Soon enough, we might as well just have a campaign book with Donald McTrumpet as the final villain. I'm not gonna lie, I went on a complete tangent in here and forgot the original point of what I was talking about, but to be honest, this is just a spew of worries, but let's see how it goes. End of the day, you run your shit how you want to. Took me too long to learn that lesson. Subscribe or I'll turn you into an orc. See ya.